those places that traditionally have not voted for Democrats. You go and preach to the choir where you have a confidently receptive audience that already agrees with you, where you know you're going to win, and maybe you can drive up the score enough just to get over the line before the other guy in November of 2022. Well, not only does that not feel right to me, I don't think that is a winning strategy in a campaign. And if I am lucky enough to serve as the next governor of Texas, any hope I have of delivering for the people of Pecos County, or Tom Green County, or any of the other 252 counties of Texas is by first showing up, listening to, and learning from those that I want to serve, work for, fight for, and represent. And today, before all of us had a chance to gather, I met one of your local school board trustees and learned a little bit about what her challenge is in making sure that she can deliver the world-class public school education that you expect for your kids. I met somebody who serves on the Chamber of Commerce board about what it's going to take to create the best jobs in America right here in this community. And then I met a young man who is still in high school, and I asked him, what is it going to take for you after you graduate from high school and maybe you go to Angelo State or Howard Community College or somewhere else? What is it going to take for you to stay in this community or move back if you leave? What do you want to see here in terms of quality of life or job opportunities or investment that this older generation needs to make so that your generation and the generation that follows you will want to remain here? I learned so much by coming to and listening to the people of San Angelo today. And that's exactly how we're running this campaign. Not for Democrats, not for Republicans, not for independents, not for anyone based on our differences, because we've got too much division in this state already right now. We find ourselves pitted against each other for no good reason at all, when there are so many reasons to come together and focus on the big things that we want to achieve. I want to make sure. We are a big people. We dream big dreams. We do the big work necessary to achieve those dreams. We are a state that is big enough for all of us, all 30 million of us who call Texas home. And wherever we came from, and however long ago, for the O'Rourke's, it was via the railroads, Nebraska, then Tucumcari, New Mexico, then the rail hub of El Paso at the end of the 19th century. That's how we got to this state. For others, you came from Asia or other parts in Europe or Africa or Latin America or somewhere else, but now you're here and this is home. And as my former colleague, when I was lucky enough to serve with him in Congress, John Lewis used to say, we might have all come here in a different ship, but today we find ourselves in the same boat. And I want to make sure that we recognize that. And it is okay and absolutely, in fact, necessary in a democracy to have differences of opinion and to be able to share them with one another respectfully, I hope, and with the dignity owed to this great democracy. But I also want to make sure that at this time, with so much opportunity before us, that we get back to focusing on the big things that we can really do. These culture war issues, this extremism in the legislation that you see coming out of Austin, Texas, that is wholly unreflective of who we are as a people. And so as I travel this state and listen to folks in different communities, I want to share with you, they're going to be a lot more expensive to treat. And oh, by the way, because you don't have insurance, you won't be able to pay for it, but everyone else in the community will through higher property taxes. That's one of the ways that we can bring that bill down and improve quality of life and affordability in this community. Not a Republican issue, not a Democratic issue, just a common sense Texas value. Listening to school teachers who have what I think are among the hardest, most important jobs in our communities, who so often are working a second or a third job just to make ends meet because we don't pay enough in that first most important job. Those teachers who, out of their own pocket, have put up the Thanksgiving decorations in their classroom, buy the pencils and pens and notebooks for the kids who can't afford them, the child on free and reduced breakfast and lunch who does not have a warm meal to look forward to at the end of the day, she's very often out of her own pocket paying for that herself. She's given her life, literally her life, to those kids in front of her. And I want to make sure that we're giving her all the support that she needs to be successful. The average teacher in Texas is paid about $10,000 less than the average teacher in the United States of America. And we, the people of Texas, are not about being average, but just to get there, we're $10,000 back right now. I want that teacher not to work a third or a second job, but only one, focused on unlocking that lifelong love of learning that exists in every child's head in their classroom. That's how we're going to do better in public education. That's how we meet some of the challenges that we have in this state right now. And I challenge you to find a Democrat or a Republican or an independent for that matter, or a non-voter, because there are millions among us who have not voted in these elections who can disagree with that as a goal. We've got to find a way to work together and to make that happen. And I think that, and I feel strongly in my bones that, if we are going to make it as a people going forward, again, regardless of party affiliation, we've got to find those issues, like jobs, like public education, like healthcare, like being able to see a doctor, on which we can find common ground. Let's get those things done together. Demonstrate the government of, by, and for the people, which Abraham Lincoln called the last best hope of earth. Those were his words in the midst of the Civil War. Let's make sure that this still works, because if you are like me, you realize that for many in this country and around the world, that today is an open question. Can these folks in Austin, can these people in Washington, D.C. actually get the job done? Or will future generations, our great-grandchildren and their great-grandchildren, look back on us, the people of 2021, and say, you lived in the world's greatest democracy, going on more than 245 years, with the most powerful military mankind has ever known, in the world's richest economy, and despite that embarrassment of wealth and riches and opportunity and potential, you let it go. And you let yourselves slide, and you allowed yourselves to be defined by your differences, and the whole thing broke apart. And again, to quote our man Lincoln, the center could not hold in this country. Well, let's bring this center back together again. And it does not mean, again, I want to make this clear, that we should not have the courage of our convictions, and that we won't disagree sometimes on issues that are important to us. That is okay. And that's what makes this democracy so remarkable and exceptional in the course of world history. But as my friend Shirley, who is the president of the NAACP here in town and sits on the Chamber of Commerce board, reminded me, democracy is more than voting in an election or getting registered to vote in an election. It is about showing up in front of your school board, going to the city council meeting, speaking out to those in positions of public trust, and letting them know exactly how you feel and what it is that you expect from them in that job. It's about showing up and meeting your friend from West Texas who wants to serve you as governor, and finding out what he has to say and sharing with him what is on your mind as well, so that he knows how to best serve you if he is fortunate enough to win this next election. That's what makes me so hopeful about the fact that you all are here today together with us. And I asked no one their party affiliation when they walked in the door. It is unimportant to me. Could care less to whom you pray, or how you love, or how many generations your family has been in this state. That you are here right now is what matters most to me. And I saw that, and I've heard the stories since, when the electricity grid failed and the power went out, and many of you lost water. We were in Abilene last night, where people literally froze to death in that community when that happened, where the water system was knocked out in some parts of the community for weeks. Heard about some similar stories here in Tom Green County. You all helped your neighbors through, and you never asked them to tell you who they voted for in the last election before you were willing to lend that helping hand to make sure that if their pipes had frozen and you had a jug of water in your home, that you offered them so that they would not be thirsty. Or if they could not cook the meals because the gas got cut off, that you were able to feed them because they were hungry. And then this is so profoundly powerful. You just made sure that they knew that you knew that they were alive, that you cared about them, that there was someone who wanted to make sure that they were going to come through this okay. And ladies and gentlemen, that's how we got through. We didn't get through because of who the governor is or who the president is or anybody in any position of power. We got through because we felt a sense of responsibility and duty to one another. That is Texas at its best. And you all exemplify that in the way that you meet these challenges. That is the way that we're going to meet the challenges before us right now. We're going to come together, put our differences behind us, and do the work at hand. Last thing, I've quoted a lot from one of my all-time favorites, Abraham Lincoln, but there was another president, Harry Truman, who said this about our country, and it resonates with me right now and strikes me to be so true at a moment that so many of us are encouraged to fear one another or fear the future, or be anxious about the things that are going to come and get us and people who are going to do it to us. And he reminded us that this country, and this is a paraphrase because I don't know if I'll get it right, but the United States of America was not built on fear. We were built on imagination, on creativity, and a fierce determination to do the job at hand. Let's remember, we are not a small people. We are not a fearful people. We are a bold, beautiful, big people here in the state of Texas. And whatever the future holds, I know that we've got this. And I know that we've got this because we're going to do it together. So thank you for welcoming us here today to San Angelo. Thank you for being part of this campaign. For those of you who join us on Saturday. And know that this will not be the only time you see us over the course of this effort. We're going to continue to come back, continue to listen to you, continue to work with you. And before we head back to El Paso to go see our families and to celebrate Thanksgiving, we wanted to spend a little bit of time. Cynthia, are we going to be out here? For anyone who would like to come by and say hello, share a word, take a photograph, post that photograph on social media, because if you don't do that, we do not exist, and this never happened. You got to make sure that the world knows that. We'll be right up here. We want to thank Guy Choate and his wife who have hosted us here today in their facility. Thank you so much, Guy. And again, thank you for being here. You give me so much hope, so much encouragement, and so much confidence that we are going to make it. Maybe make it as a candidate, maybe make it as an ex-governor. Who knows? That's a year off. But I think we are going to make it as a people. We're going to make it as a state. Thank you all for being here today.